Pleasure to welcome in Paul and Aaron from the Fin Factor. And gentlemen, I'll start with something that everybody's talking about, trying to define this season. If you had to summarize it, Paul, start with you. In one sentence, in one way, what exactly are we witnessing with these San Jose Sharks?
Yeah, I mean, if it's my words and not the words of what the fan base would say, it would be kind of this is what I thought was going to happen, right? This is kind of what I expected, and I know a lot of people were saying, that it's a huge surprise the Sharks being kind of in the thick of things right now. But for me, seeing last season and where they were, even though they were in last place, to me, that was a team that if they just had those one goal losses, or the times they went into the third period and lost with a lead, how many times do we see that, right?
Yeah.
So for them to do what they did last season, if they could just build a little bit on that, they'd be a bubble team. And that's what I've been saying since the start, was that I think that's where they're going to be, and that's pretty much exactly where they are right now. So for me, this is kind of what I was expecting to see out of them. Now, the fan base may disagree, but I'm pleasantly surprised that I'm right on this one. So
I was about to say, Aaron, Paul was right. We did talk about this last season, all the close finishes and losses by the Sharks. I think it's like a 9 OT game win streak by San Jose. They never lose in overtime, knock on wood, as of right now.
Yeah, right.
But in all these close games and tight finishes and, exciting endings to some games, is there one that stands out to you as being kind of the signature moment or statement by the Sharks?
Recently, I would say that Florida game, which was just this last week.
Yeah.
That one stands out to me because I've been saying for the last couple seasons now that the Sharks really need to kind of come together. The culture needs to change. They need to stand up for each other. And in that game specifically, they really stood up for each other. I mean, that's the one Nedeljkovic got in the fight with Bobrovsky famously. But before that goalie fight, he skated over to a guy who had hit, I think it was Desharnais or somebody, and was getting in his face, which you don't typically see a goalie getting into a scrum with a skater. And so that was like oh wow, this team is definitely different. And on top of that, all the games where they've come from behind and won, where they just did not give up and scored late in the last couple minutes of the game to either tie it or win it. I think those kind of define it for me. But that Florida game specifically, the reigning Stanley Cup champions back to back and giving it to them in Florida and standing up for your players. And obviously the goalie fight was awesome. But all those guys standing up for each other.
A lot of people point out, the dropping of what I don't want to say the gloves, but the catcher and the blockers by the goalies. But really, Ned making the statement the rest of that game and not allowing the Panthers to get any more goals and win the game. To your point, I feel like the fight was a statement, but what Ned did the rest of that game was even a bigger statement. Paul, I'll go back to you. In terms of where the Sharks are at, I think are all pretty satisfied with trajectory and progress and all that. But if there are some concerns the rest of the way and down the stretch and post-Olympic break, if you're careful about something, if you're cautious about something, what are you concerned about with the second half?
yeah, I think whenever we talk about playoffs for any team, really, the big worry is always going to be, is everyone going to be healthy, right? So we're doing well right now, and that's all well and good. We have had some injuries, and they fought through that, but we haven't had injuries to very key players. Like last season, Macklin was out for the first 12 games after he started. So you're just hoping that everybody stays healthy going into what this is, that playoff push, right? That's kind of the first thing. The second is, Mike Greer is in a bit of a crunch right now, not a cap crunch or anything like that, but it's the amount of players that he has and people coming back from injury. And you've got guys that have, like Chernyshov, got pushed back to the AHL. We think that was less of him trying to learn a better skill down the AHL and more of he just had to move somebody and he was waiver exempt. So you would love to see Chernyshov come back. The only way that happens is if there's space. And so that's one of the concerns too, is who's going to have to go at this point, because he's kind of got his hands tied right now with the amount of guys that are NHL caliber players, that somebody just has to move. So I would say that's definitely something to look out for as the playoffs approach.
Yeah, it's a worry of like having too many good choices. You want to make the best choice, but you don't know like what that best choice is. And there's a lot of good ones that are obviously enticing. Aaron, the trade deadline is still a ways away. The Sharks have already made one move to acquire Kiefer Sherwood, and maybe by the time this is out, there'll have been another trade. Who knows what big money Mike has in store. Yeah. In terms of, though, just approaching this trade deadline, doesn't seem like the Sharks are extreme buyers. Doesn't seem like they're extreme sellers. Where are they in this?
Yeah, this one's kind of difficult because I think the Sharks are, to me, like back to Paul's point, I think they're a year ahead of schedule. I think they were going to be going into the season, I thought they were going to kind of miss the playoffs, so they might have still sold some of those players. Now we see the salary cap go up every year, and it's going up kind of significantly compared to the last 6 years.
Right.
So we're seeing a lot of teams, specifically the Florida Panthers, were able to keep a lot of their upcoming free agents. So I think there's going to be less free agency out there. You're going to see more teams re-sign their players rather than go to free agency. So it's kind of they're in a weird spot. I mean, there's so many guys just on the blue line alone that are coming up at the end of their contracts. So again, to Paul's point about the bodies being needing to be moved with the amount of contracts that the Sharks have, I could see a couple things happening. A couple guys going out and bringing in some players in to the Sharks, and those could be roster players going out, right? Not so much prospects or draft picks. The Sharks still have a decent amount of draft capital that they could use in drafts. What I would like to see is the defense is pretty much the only kind of Achilles heel of this team right now. And not to knock the current guys that are playing right now, but I think what they're really missing is a top four defender that's a defensive defenseman that's going to clear out the front of the net and do a lot of penalty killing and a lot of heavy lifting and heavy minutes. Someone that's, to me, it would be a right-handed shot defenseman because they have so many in the pipeline that are left-handed shot and already offensive minded defensemen more than defensive. So to me, that would be what I would like him to go see is going Big Money Mike going after a big right-handed shot defenseman. And of course, the guy's going to be over 6'4" because they have to meet the line requirements to ride the ride of the Sharks with Mike Greer.
Basically, you're asking for almost another Orlov type, maybe an Orlov Desharnais hybrid.
Yes.
Is that what we're going for? You know, the other thing is, it's kind of crazy here is that, to your point earlier, if you just keep some of the players that you already have and you like and you retain them or re-sign them, that's almost like getting something back out of the trade deadline, you know?
Right. Yeah. You kind of re-sign your own, you're getting your own rental players. You're
Right.
re-signing your own rental players, essentially.
Standing pat is actually like a positive in this situation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Paul, I'm looking at a league that is shutting down, a league where everybody, well, for the most part, most players are going to be on break for a couple weeks, and the Olympics take up about 3 weeks. Everybody shuts down. So that's not new to the Sharks. It's not exclusive to the Sharks. But, I mean, when they come back and they start up again, how do you see things going for San Jose down the stretch? It's a busy month of March. The strength of schedule actually should benefit this team. But again, everybody starting from scratch, I think that's a big question mark to kind of lose your traction, lose your momentum for everybody, because the Sharks are pretty happy with how things have gone.
Yeah, I think when you've got Olympic break here, Aaron and I are actually thinking that a lot of the trades are going to happen prior to that break.
Right.
Gives them an opportunity to kind of acclimate to their new surroundings.
Right.
I know Kiefer had done that presser, and he had talked about, getting to know the area and whatnot. And to us, that was actually promising that he might be here longer than just the short term here. Is
Sure.
that he's interested in the area. But I think for everybody, any trades and whatnot that happen, having that done beforehand, giving them a chance to get acclimated to the area, understand the facility, meet the team, hang out with the boys, right? Do all that stuff. There's only a small handful of Sharks that are going to be gone for the Olympics. The rest of them are going to be around. They can spend that time to rest and recover, which, again, we just talked about injuries and whatnot going into playoffs. So that could be huge for them. And really, I don't see this being a problem for a guy like Macklin, where he's playing extra hockey and everybody else is recuperating. We've talked about him before, where he is just that type. He is the type that is constantly going, and it doesn't matter what's happening. Everybody else can get a rest. That's fine. I'm going to keep going, and he's better for it. So I'm not worried about Macklin for sure. Now, in terms of them coming back and what we expect to see, pretty much nothing different. I'm not expecting to see anything different. You're going to see the guys that get the break back and recharge, and you can see Macklin coming off of, I'm guessing, a promising Olympic performance, and we'll see. I think he's just going to carry that juice straight into the rest of the season, and I don't think that they're gonna falter at all. I think they're just going to keep the ball rolling.
Macklin's a freak of nature. I'm not worried about him playing too much hockey.
His nickname is Mac. I was thinking, we should just call him the Caveman, because everything he does is he just makes fire.
Yeah.
So The kid is insane. He's 19 years old and he's absolutely insane.
Yes.
So anyway, yeah, he's just nuts, and it's great watching him, and it's going to be a lot of fun being able to watch him play for his country. A lot of pride going on there, obviously, and I'm assuming he's going to be playing alongside at least Sidney Crosby,
Right.
but probably McKinnon as well.
Paul, where did you get that? Where'd you get that line from? The caveman line?
Connor Price.
Okay.
I stole it.
First time I heard it. That's a really good one. I like it. Aaron, let's close it out with just the talk of playoffs. So we've been interested in this since maybe a really good month of November. And then, December, we're still looking at the standings. Here, as we record this in January, we're obviously kind of looking at a team that's in the bubble of the playoffs, sometimes some nights in the playoffs, some days out of the standings. Should we be talking about this? Should we approach it yet? Should we think about this? Or is this like a late March, early April thing?
It's a tough one. This year alone, just around the NHL, there's a lot more parity in the league. There's less teams. I mean, the Sharks, for one, are not the bottom in a 0.3%, 0.3 points percentage. They're now at, so we actually did the show this last week where I looked at the points percentage since November 1st, because our October was so bad. Since November 1st, they're at, I think it was 609 points percentage, which is the exact same as the Vegas Golden Knights, and they were 9th in the league. So if you project that out since November 1st, which is kind of roughly where I feel like they hit their stride and started playing very well and consistently, that gets them to about 94 to 95 points at the end of the season, which is right there. So every little game is going to feel like a playoff game, not just for the Sharks, but for every team, because there's so many teams that are still in the mix, which also kind of affects the trade deadline because there's so many more buyers than there are sellers because teams don't know what they are yet. So it's going to be a very, very intense and very interesting last couple months here. I think the Sharks can pull it off. I think the way that they're playing right now, the strength of schedule, we'll see what happens with some trades around the league, not just with the Sharks, but what other teams are kind of throwing in the towel, and that might help them get some, easy points if there is such a thing in the NHL. But the fact that the Sharks are winning in overtime and not losing those points, I mean, that's, if you take away those, how many overtime wins was it? Did you say it was 9?
I think it's 9 in a row, yeah.
You take away 9 points out of the standings. If they lost those in overtime
Right.
or in shootout, that's a lot in the standings. So there's so much wiggle room, or not a lot of wiggle room, just a lot of, it's going to be intense and it's going to be fun to watch. It's going to come down to the wire. So I think I'm more of a believer now than I think I was earlier in the season. For me, if that defense gets shored up, it's going to be huge. If they fix their special teams, the power play's kind of on the weaker side, the penalty kill as well. If they could shore those up and the defensive side of things, I think they really have a good shot at making it. And I think Macklin is going to drag them on his back, which he already has been all season.
Yeah, and if I can add to that, you just talked about those 9 overtime wins, right? Last season, those would have been losses by the numbers, right?
Before getting it overtime.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I also wanted to point out, I looked at this from, I think it was October 30th, basically from November on from the season. The Sharks have only had two game losing streaks and 1 3-game losing streak. Last season, we would have had two game winning streaks, right? So it's a different team. And I know that there's obviously been turnover and whatnot, but it's a very different team now. And I think a lot of that has to do not just with the players, but also Mike Grier doing a fantastic job of building this roster. And there's a lot of lack of faith, we'll say, in Warsofsky after that first season or so. And I don't understand it. He's done a great job as well.
Not from us.
Not from us. Not from us. No. I'm just saying the fan base sometimes. But yeah, I got to give a lot of credit to those two guys. They've set the culture the right way. They brought in the right guys, and the team is firing on all cylinders right now.
Guys, the production value is excellent. The content is outstanding. Big fan of the Fin Factor over here. So, Paul and Aaron, keep it up. I know you will, and I can't wait to see where this season goes and gives you some more material. So, thank you for this.
Yes, thank you, Brodie. Thank you for having us.
Big fans of you too, buddy.
Yeah.
Oh, appreciate it.